Hello, I'm Sophie D'Souza and welcome to my channel Sophie Stains Glass, a channel dedicated. Clearly my dog doesn't like my filming. I'll be back. Dedicated to all things to do with architectural glass and with the purpose of spreading the knowledge. So today's video was a request from one of my subscribers. I made a video similar to this earlier, and it's my top 5 stained glass jobs. So that was the last one. So this is another top 5. So some more of my work. I'm going to talk about what the brief was, the techniques I used, my inspiration. What an unhappy dog I have this morning. So I hope you find it interesting, and thank you very much for watching. This is a piece I made to bring with me to an interview for my Quest Scholarship. So I'll say a few words about Quest, Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust, and they are the charitable wing or charitable arm of the Royal Warrant Holders Association, and their remit is to basically support craftspeople and keep alive the old crafts. And there's the most amazing array of craftspeople. There's armourers and musical instrument makers and paper preservers and blacksmiths and a doll's house conserver, and stained glass artists and ceramicists, you name it, painting preservers, rug makers, sculptors. So I applied to them for funding. They support people's training to go to Central St Martin's to do the architectural glass postgraduate. And I had to bring a piece to the interview, very scary interview, about 12 people around a big table. And of course all my work's in buildings, so I had to make something to bring, and this is what I made. It's about 2 foot diameter, and I love narrative work, as you probably can tell, and it was a sort of fairy tale that inspired me, like enchanted wood. And I've got this kind of vortex going on, which you see repeated in my work. So I brought that with me and I was successful, which was very nice. As part of Quest, they offer you opportunities, and I was invited to produce some work to be sold at Fortnum and Mason's, which is a very iconic shop in central London, and they have, I think they have one of the oldest royal warrants. So Fortnum and Mason's is famous for their food hall and famous for their teas. So I produced some work based on Mad Hatter Tea Party, so Alice in Wonderland. The dormouse closed its eyes and was going off for a doze. So there we are. There's the dormouse, and you saw Alice in Wonderland and the Mad Hatter. And I also produced a range based on original recipes and illustrations from Mrs. Beeton's book of household management. So I love that book. It is a cooking Bible, but it also has a very sort of anachronistic section on how to sort of manage your servants, which actually I've never found a problem. But they have amazing illustrations and recipes. So this one says, note, this fish is frequently used for garnishing calf's head, which we all need to know, don't we? Oh, and I loved this one. The chief points sought for in the choice of a hog are breadth of chest, depth of carcass, width of loin, compactness of form, cheerfulness, and general beauty of appearance. So now you know how to choose your pig. Very useful again. So that was wonderful to have work sold at Fortnum's. And here it is in situ. They did a great job of displaying the glass because actually displaying stained glass is always a challenge if any of you have tried it. So some were displayed with lights behind and some were hung in the windows. And I also produced light boxes for them as well. And one of the most wonderful things about showing at Fortnum's was that the Queen came to see it all, and I was presented to the Queen and introduced, and we had a little chat, which was mighty terrifying, I have to say, but a wonderful experience and opportunity. And actually, Quest have given me lots of great opportunities, and I've exhibited at the V&A and at Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace, and the Royal Windsor Horse Show. So yes, it's just been the most wonderful experience. So I would encourage you to look into Quest and possibly apply. So this is a piece, moving on, that was submitted to the Stevens competition. So while I was doing my postgraduate at Central St Martin's, I applied to what is a very sort of high-profile architectural glass competition, and it's open only to people in the first 5 years of their training. So I was eligible, and it didn't win, but it came second, which I was very happy with. And I will just try and explain what you can see here. So all this glass is actually safety glass, which is clear, and it's adhered to a background which is a photograph from the Hubble telescope. And these things here, strangely enough, are actually, oh, let's get rid of that, casts in glass of jelly babies, which was quite fun to do. And the idea, I can't remember the actual title of the brief, but the way I interpreted it was that everything in the universe is made of the same substance. There is nothing in the universe that wasn't created during the Big Bang, hence the Hubble telescope photo. And the notion is this, everything from the stars to us, we're all made of stardust, which I know it's a bit hippie, but it's true. So the piece is lit from above, and these jelly babies actually catch the light like lenses, and they shone, and the whole thing was quite beautiful. But the setting was supposed to be a hospital in a cancer ward, and because this was made of small chips of safety glass, and it was going to be produced very large, they weren't sure it was going to be 100% safe if people ran their hands over it. And I felt that if they put a protection in front of it, it would lose its dynamism, because the glass they would have to put in front of it would reflect the light rather than all these little individual pieces of safety glass. Anyway, I really enjoyed this piece, and was very happy with my second place. This window went into a church in North London, and it went in actually the day before lockdown, all that time ago. So this is a picture that the priest took on his phone and sent over to me. Well, it might not have been on his phone actually, because it's quite good quality. And it's the only full picture I've got of it. The brief was a window dedicated to Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc is a very militaristic saint, and also she died in a very gory way, and it's difficult to represent in a way that we find sort of more acceptable these days. So I took her sword, which is usually held aloft, you know, look, I'm riding into battle, and I had it point downwards, and it's cruciform, a sword, so it represents the cross. Now, of course, the flames, they're a big thing, aren't they? But they can look a bit hellfire. So what I did instead was I created a sort of background of flamey colours by colouring clear glass with powdered frit. And there's a whole series of videos of the making of this window if you would like to have a look on my website, because I show you how I coloured the glass and fired it, how I painted all the lilies, and the installation process. This is a close-up of some of the work, some of the panels. Obviously it's all made in several panels before it went in. I just wanted to show you how very large the lilies were and how strong the painted work is, because when you're painting work that's going to go up high and far away, you have to really overcompensate. So I think you can see the lilies don't look too strong at all. And actually, the glass for the lilies, if you use white glass, it blocks the light. So again, I used clear glass and a powdered white frit, so I could just slightly colour the lilies white, because you didn't want the lilies to be darker than the rest, which they would have been with just white glass. So as I'll go back to this one, because as you can see in the background, there's the frit work, background glass in the flamey colours. And what I did was colour whole sheets and then cut from them to make the background so that I would get a nice flow through. So I ended up with lots of offcuts. So all the glass that was behind the lilies, that was all offcuts. And I was rather wedded to this glass because I'd made it myself and I just thought it was beautiful. And I've still got lots of offcuts left, but they're quite small. So I decided to use them to make a panel. Obviously all the pieces had to be quite small. And again, I've gone back to the space theme, because this is a graphic representation of a wormhole, which is a bit like a black hole, except apparently you come out the other side. My physics is a bit shaky, but I love the kind of matrix bending into a vortex that they use to represent wormholes. And so that's what I used the offcuts for. And this window I made for myself, because that is my hall. My hall is divided into two. There's a front section at the front of the house, which is really light actually, and then a middle section which gets no light at all. I did put these coloured panels in the middle door, but as you can see, it didn't actually do an awful lot to illuminate the back of the hall. What you won't realise is that I'm actually in this picture, but it's so dark you can't see me. So now I'm going to show you a picture of the hall once I broke through a window and broke through a hole to put that window in. Ta-da! What a difference. So under the stairs, just out of shot, is where I broke through, and it was just such a good idea. And that is the window in situ. I have to say, I really struggled to take photos of this window because the hall is still relatively dark and I'm pointing my camera directly at the window, and it keeps compensating in a peculiar way. And also, there are always cars parked right outside the window, which discolour the window. So I'll just go back to the first image of it. That's more what you see when you're in my hall. And this actually helps highlight the issue of taking photos of stained glass. It's very difficult. If you put natural light, if you have natural light behind a window, then you're susceptible to all the things that are behind the window, but it's still a lovely way to take a photo if you can get your camera to compensate for pointing directly at a window. If you artificially light a window, it can deaden a window terribly. And actually, if you go into the V&A, they've really deadened their stained glass window displays by putting them in light boxes where they used to be in front of windows. And finally, as I said in my first roundup of my favourite jobs. I love doing windows based on children's illustrations, and this was a particularly charming drawing. And this is for a school called Allenby in Southall, and the school sort of image mascot is an owl, Allenby owl, because they're wise, aren't they? And this window is in their unit for children with special needs. A lot of them have autism. And they used to just have to have a blind in front of the window because the children got very distracted by what was going on outside their classroom, because they could see people coming in and out of the school, and also for safeguarding reasons. They didn't want people to be able to look into the classroom. So they asked me to do a window that would screen the outside. And this was the winning drawing. And one of my favourite bits in it is this. So here we have the moon, and I don't really know what this is. It might be maybe a wolfy thing howling at the moon, but I faithfully copied the child's drawing because I mean it's just great, isn't it? Let's have a little focus in on weirdy object in moon. But I just loved it, you know. And like I say, I do find it very inspiring working from children's drawings. And yes, there is a bit of artistic license taken in it. So I sort of slightly simplified the hill background and I made it reflect the circular aspect of the window, and then I gave that curve to the branches of the tree. And just a little note, you can see that I've installed this very simply up against the glass that was in the window, just using these little blocks. And then I have used strengthening rods going across the window to stop the window bowing. So thanks for watching, and I hope there was something in that might be of use or interest, and please like, comment and subscribe.